Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of the Caught by Happy podcast. I am Matt Harrington, and today I am speaking with an old friend of mine. His name is Steve Koonce. But before we get into any of that, I just want to take a quick moment and say, wow, thank you so much for the feedback I've received on episode 1, the interview I did with my neighbor, Mandy Herbert. I got a lot of great feedback on that, and I was really surprised that so many of you actually listened to it. And you downloaded it or you found it through the links that I put out on my social channels. I was like blown away that people actually listened to it. Now, I think last time I checked, it had like 60 listens, which, I was expecting like 2. So 60 is pretty good. I was expecting like my mom and maybe my wife. I'm really happy and I'm really blown away by the support I received from the people who reached out to me. And we're going to keep trying to do this thing. We're going to make a go of it. And if you like what you hear, please do continue to subscribe, tell your friends, and hopefully we can do this Caught by Happy podcast once a week or once every couple of weeks. If you know of somebody who could come on this show and provide a really interesting story, it doesn't have to be a tragedy. It doesn't have to be a huge success story. Maybe it's just somebody who's got something interesting to say. Have them reach out to me, caughtbyhappy@gmail.com, or you can DM me on Instagram. My handle is caughtbyhappy. That's pretty easy to remember. I'd love to hear the story. I'd love to talk to your friends. I'd love to talk to you. And let's get something scheduled so you can be on the podcast. All right, now back to Steve. How are Steve and I friends? Well, we became friends back in 2007-ish when we both worked at the same television station. Steve was in the promotions department. I was in the production department. We had similar interests. We drank a lot of beer together. We played some basketball together. We hung out with the same group of friends. Anyways, Steve's one of the funniest people I know. And this conversation is definitely no different. Now, I haven't spoken to Steve in years. It's been a long time since Steve and I sat down together and had a chat or even like hung out together, seen each other. So it was really great to catch up with him. And a lot of what you're going to hear is us just like catching up. I actually took out like 20, 30 minutes of conversation from this podcast because it was just too much and too, you guys couldn't sit through it. Already as it is, it runs like 45, 50 minutes. So it's a pretty long one. Now, Steve's the type of guy who has kind of jumped around and done a number of different things. Not unlike many of us. He, like I said, worked in television, but he's also worked in the beer world. He's worked in the distributing of beer. He's worked in the sales of beer out there in Utah and Idaho. And he's an author about beer in Idaho. He wrote a book. And Steve's going to share that story with us, how he became an author. And he's going to share what he's doing now. He's a real funny guy. His voice is going to remind you of TJ Miller, probably. That's what, whenever I watch Silicon Valley and I see that character, Ehrlich, it just reminds me of Steve. He is that guy, just, without the personal problem that TJ Miller has. Steve was also kind enough to throw in a couple of, shall we say, sponsorships to this podcast. So listen out for those. He apparently wrote those beforehand just to throw them into my podcast so I would sound legit and have actual sponsorships throughout the middle of my podcast. I had a really good time talking to him. We talked about everything from the old days back at the station and the mutual friends that we used to have and that we still have, I should say, and the people that came up with us at the old TV station, like Terrell Brown, who's out in Chicago now doing his thing, Ryan Nobles on CNN, Aaron Gilchrist up in DC. These were all people that we worked with back in the day at the NBC affiliate here in Richmond. So we reminisce a little bit. We talk about beer. We talk about life. We talk about everything under the sun. So sit back and enjoy my conversation with my old friend, Steve Koonce. Mr. Steven.
Yes, hello.
What is going on?
Matt, how you doing?
First of all, let me say that you and I haven't spoken in years. We haven't talked to each other in years.
And I was going to wait for you to apologize, but it took too long. So here we are.
Well, I wanted to wait until we started actually recording before I gave you my apology. Yeah. Just like I'm waiting for my apology for you inviting me to your wedding.
You know what you did. Oh, my wedding. Did you? I thought you got invited to my wedding. You were invited.
Was I?
You should have been.
Well, I'm sorry for not coming.
if you, the Richmond contingent did not come out for that, that one.
No.
That's okay.
We don't travel well.
Uh-uh.
Just to Buffalo and back.
Just in case there's some emergency in Buffalo.
But
you would not believe the blue cheese up here right now. Okay. Do you just not to get too far off topic, because we really haven't decided on topic.
There is no topic.
But it is something that makes me happy, so I guess it is on topic. Have you watched Ryan Nobles on CNN?
Of course. I watch him all the time.
It's my favorite thing on earth right now. I love it. Yeah. And he had a podcast too. And I would just the whole time be like, yeah, exactly. It was really good. Stupid. Hey, CNN, what do you bring it back?
Oh, he's totally, he's going to bring it back. Election season is here. Yeah.
I forgot it was like an election thing. But yeah, it's just like, every so often you'd hear him just go like dip into that Buffalo accent, like, and what do you think about Bernie? Like, I'd lose it, like on an airplane or something.
He's on the Bernie trail right now. That's like his deal is Bernie.
His beat. Yeah. And if by some miracle Ryan is listening, hey, how you doing?
All right, let's get into it.
Get us back on track here.
There is no track. Oh, yeah. We're just going to talk. We're going to catch up like we're old homies, because we are old homies.
We are old homies. This is
and true. Normally what I would do is just go all the way back and start at your beginnings. Where I really want to start is how we know each other, which is we worked together at a local NBC affiliate here in Richmond. Geez, what was it? 10, 12, 13, 15 years ago? What year was that you came here?
I think it was 2007. Yeah, right at the beginning of 2007. Yeah.
So that's how we know each other. You worked.
So what did you do there? I forgot what you did. You were like a production manager, right?
That's right. I was a director and managed the production crew of the morning production crew of Central Virginia's highest rated morning news.
You know what? And they never let us forget that, did they?
No.
Shout out to WWBT. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
NBC 12. Shout out.
It's on my resume.
Directed the #1 morning. You should just put, I directed Aaron Gilchrist.
Right. Aaron Gilchrist. And you remember Terrell Brown, that kid who was in diapers?
The guy that I see on CBS News all the time.
And now he's running things in Chicago and filling in on Good Morning America. Look at this guy.
Yeah. Actually, we were watching Good Morning America, and not too, because my wife works for a CBS station. Oh, no, that's ABC, I guess, right? But anyway, we were watching it, and I saw him on there. And I thought he was on CBS. He's on CBS.
Yeah, he's on CBS.
We saw him on there, and I think we were in vacation. We were like in San Diego or something. I go, see that guy right there? And she goes, yeah, he's like what's he on for? Did he win a prize or something? I'm like, yeah. He won the prize of being the most comfortable person on camera ever. Like,
look, that guy,
a natural.
He's totally a natural. When he was 17, 18 years old, working at Channel 12, he was a natural.
Intern.
Yeah.
When you see people like that and you're like, just get them on TV. That was a well-run TV station. Another TV station I worked at, we had an intern who was really, really good on TV. And we were just like, let's let her go figure it out first. She's not quite ready for the big time yet. And she left for about 5 seconds, then came back and was on their number one newscast for like 5 years or something. Right. Like it's good. That's one thing about NBC 12, and I guess it's the Frank Jones family tree, right? Is that what it is?
The Frank Jones family tree. Yeah, mm-hmm. We're all a part. We're all a branch.
We're all a branch. I think I'm maybe like a branch that fell on the ground.
You had a good run there. You were there for what, 3-4 years?
No, I was only there for a year and a half, and then I went up to DC.
Really?
Yeah, I was in the area, so we still hung out and stuff. But I went up to DC about after a year.
I don't remember any of that. I feel like you were there my whole time.
Yeah,
I was there for 8 years.
Yeah, you were there a while.
Did I leave first, or did you leave first?
I think you left first. In fact, I remember your going away party. That was a good one.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, I only remember that it happened. So we worked together in Richmond, and that's kind of how we know each other.
Did you go up to DC immediately after you left?
Yeah, and it was a good experience. DC was crazy, and I had an awesome place up there, which was really cool. But
No, I remember, man.
yeah,
Our very first mancation was at your place in DC.
man, I wish we could do it again.
You can, and let me just invite you
Oh,
formally,
wow.
if you can make it in the next month. It's exactly like 1 month from today, by the way. Do you know where mancation is this year?
Gosh, Puerto Rico, I'm gonna guess.
No, but close. Buffalo.
Oh my God.
We are going up to the Bills Redskins game, and we're going to hit the Sabres game the night before, November 2nd, and then Bills game on November 3rd.
Jeez, I don't even know if you could get tickets for that Bills Redskins game.
We've already got it taken care of.
You got those taken care of?
Our friend Richard Washington has taken care of the tickets. And we do have an extra one because somebody backed out. So if you want to make the flight out to the East Coast,
I'll have to see about that. When is it? A month from today? Nobody cares.
We'll talk about that later.
Let's figure it out. We'll figure that, as the kids like to say, off air. So yeah, then I went to DC. Shortly thereafter, I was asked to leave by the new promotion manager.
What happened there?
The promotions team was gutted, and so I was a creative services director or producer, whatever. And I was really good at it, and I did a pretty good job for that station.
Well, why would they ask you to leave if you were so good at it?
He didn't like me.
Oh, well, I can understand that.
Yeah, well, me too. But yeah, so they asked me to leave. That guy, I'm happy to say, got his comeuppance when the company that owned the station my dad was working at bought him, and we suggested that he be removed. And I don't know if our suggestion worked or my dad's suggestion worked, but he was removed. So Bill Lord, eat it, Bill Lord, forever. You can eat it.
So your dad's the guy then. Your dad's got some pull.
He did. He doesn't no longer. He's just now he's not. Now he's just kind of slumming it. But he used to have some pull.
Now we've got the groundwork. Let's go back to how you even got in TV in the first place. So I do know one bit of trivia about you, which I remember because you were very proud of it, and you had a sweatshirt that said Chapman on it. I know you went to Chapman University. The only thing I know about Chapman University is that you went there.
Yep. Say that's all I know about Cortland. You and cousin Sal went there. That's it. That's all I know.
So how did you get into the whole like TV biz or video biz or whatever it was that you were in?
I mean, it was kind of a thing where I went to college and did all that, and that was all good. And I really liked doing what you did. Actually, I liked directing. I thought that was a lot of fun. So I went to Tucson and I got a job there. And this place, it was a powerhouse at NBC station where everybody had worked there forever. So I started pushing cameras around like on the morning show. And after about a year and a half, I had not gotten anywhere else. I was still pushing cameras around on the morning show. Yeah. And so I went to him and I was like, hey, I can do this, I can do that, I can do audio, whatever. Oh no, yeah, we got it. All the while making maybe $7 an hour, $7.25 an hour, something like that. So really just doing great. This is 2000, 2001, something like that, 2002. It was terrible money. It was awful for what I was doing. I was waking up at 3 a.m. Going into work, pushing cameras around for $7.25 an hour.
I did it for years.
I have less patience, I think. I would have stuck with it, but I really hated waking up early. It was terrible. Yeah. The people I worked with were really nice, and it was fine. Everything else was fine about it. I wanted to direct, and I was pretty hardcore about that because I liked it. It was fun. So I started applying for jobs. And I got one with Manny De La Rosa at NBC in Palm Springs, which was great because it was way hotter than Tucson, which I was looking for because Tucson was a little cool for me. I don't know if you've been, but I think for someone like you would really like it. It would really just loosen up those pores, get that sweat going. It was awful. I'm from Seattle, and I'm much like you. I'm more of a fair weather kind of guy. And it was terrible. So I moved to Palm Springs and worked as a creative producer the night shift, which was cool. My parents were living in Vegas at this point, so I could buzz up and meet them and see them. It's a 4-hour drive. LA was only 2 hours away, so I could go see some college buddies if I wanted to, whatever.
What's this, 2003-ish?
Yeah, maybe 4 or 5. So I was there for a little while, and then I didn't decide, actually the company decided that my position was no longer necessary for the betterment of the TV station.
Yeah, we've been there. We've all been there.
So they made I think a good choice to go ahead and get rid of me to find someone else to put in news, because our news department really needed more people. If anyone's ever been in a newsroom in 2005, there's like 80,000 people in there all doing the same exact thing.
Yes.
It's the most redundant thing in the world.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, your creative department is 3 guys doing everything they can to keep the thing on the air.
By the way, like I haven't been in a newsroom recently, but I would imagine a newsroom right now is bare bones, like 3 people versus the 80 people that they had in 2004.
Oh yeah, they got 5 Terrells running around with like a tripod and a smartphone, and that's news. I mean, we're broadcasting right now. I have a pretty crappy laptop and a pair of headphones I just dug out of a box. I mean, you have a nice setup though. I like your mic stand and everything. You're looking good. And your voice sounds great on that thing, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. No, this is all used equipment. I got like Amazon warehouse deals and eBay and stuff. So,
Sweet.
I'm a thrifty guy.
And you didn't have to say that. You could have lied.
No.
You can always lie.
No.
These headphones, the box I got them out of was a Sennheiser box, and they're brand new. I got them just for this thing.
Did you? $350 just for those?
No. I didn't go for the cheap ones. I went for Beats by Sennheiser. So then I was in Palm Springs for a little while. They decided they didn't want me. And then I went to Richmond. That's where I met you guys. And, Manny was great in Palm Springs. He was a good mentor for me. But Paula, Brandon, and Steph, and everyone that was over there at 12 when I got there, they were really cool too. Like, it was really cool working for them. So that was a really real eye-opening thing, because this is what my dad did all growing up, and I didn't know what his job was, because back then fathers didn't talk to their sons, Like, right. How many times did we talk to our dads growing up?
Where was your dad? Where did your dad work?
So he worked for KCPQ in Seattle, Tacoma area. My whole time growing up. So, and he was a creative director the whole time. I didn't know what it was. So
was that his career? Like, did he retire from there? Was he there like the whole time?
No, he's still doing it.
He's still there?
Yeah. No, he's not there, but he's still doing that. That's what his job still is.
How old is he?
Oh God, 69, 68.
And he's still working.
Well, that's the thing with working in TV. You don't get to retire.
No, you don't. You don't make enough money that you can ever retire. That's for sure. That's why people get out of TV. So did he instill any of that in you? Did he teach you anything about it? Did he like bring you to work or you just got into it because you wanted to get into production somehow?
It was weird. No, well, I got to school, and once I got to school, I was like, okay, so I wanted to direct films. So I directed films, 2 on film and then multiple movies and stuff. And I loved it. Directing movies would be amazing. But I started getting into TV. We had a show there called Nightcap, and I started doing a bunch of comedy stuff, and I started directing that stuff, and I started writing and doing like the Saturday Night Live thing where we would stay up all night and all that stuff, and had a blast. And actually, the only one regret I have so far, which, there could be more coming up, is that I didn't follow that more, the writing thing. But
wait, so you were doing like sketch?
Yeah, we did. It was a 30-minute Saturday Night Live type sketch show with a host. We actually combined late night with a sketch, and we had guests and stuff. We had Freddy Krueger on. We had, if you look on YouTube, there is
Freddy Krueger, Robert England. Yes, I remember. England. Yeah, wow.
There, if you look it up on YouTube somewhere in the deep dark corner of YouTube, if you go Ed McMahon Nightcap, you'll find something that I wrote and produced with Ed McMahon, and that was really cool.
Really?
He couldn't have been nicer. He brought his own gin, which was nice. Everybody appreciated that. And he just could not have been a nicer guy. I'm just kidding. Yeah, he was a beautiful man, really nice guy. But I did a lot of that, and if I could have seen an avenue to do that back then, stand-up comedy wasn't really that big of a deal. 2000, you're talking 2000, 2001. There was a few people that did stand up that were really, really good at it, and the rest of everybody else kind of just laid off. And it wasn't like now where Netflix was handing out specials every 5 seconds.
God, can you imagine if you would have done it though?
Yeah.
At that point, like in 2001, if you would have kept at it, where you would be right now?
Probably in jail.
You'd probably have a show or something, at least.
I don't have the hairline for it. You have the hairline for it. Maybe you'd have the.
All right.
Do we have just 1 second really quick? I got something here. I was listening to your last episode, and I love podcasts. and you were missing just one kind of thing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this because I got people that I owe.
What?
Caught by Happy, brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped Trimmer is a precision engineered tool to keep your cojones looking good. It's the best for below the waist trimming. Nothing better for your biscuits. If you aren't satisfied, send it right back. Check out manscaped.com. Promo code. We don't have a promo code, but you can put that in later, right?
Are you, wait a minute.
Manscaped.com.
Did I get a sponsor I didn't know about?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this is episode 2 and I've already got a sponsor?
Yeah, I did some work on the phones. I got those guys in.
Can you come work for me?
Yeah.
All right. Which brings me, let's move on because I want to get to the point where you eventually have kids.
Okay.
So you're in Richmond.
Yep.
So we're far away from all of the kid stuff still. And we've already gotten to the point where you've moved up to DC and you've done your thing there and you've gotten asked to leave nicely.
No, it wasn't that nice. That time wasn't nice.
Oh.
that was a rude one. The Palm Springs, that was nice. These guys.
But the guy got his comeuppance in DC.
Yeah. And I wish him all the worst.
Yeah, good. We'll have to look him up and make
Once
sure.
Once again, Bill Lord. It's Bill Lord. His name's Bill Lord.
All right. So what happens after that?
I hung out in DC for a little while after that. I was doing kind of some odd jobs and stuff. I was working like whatever I could. There was a couple.
Didn't you start like a social media something? Was that in DC?
I did.
Or was that? Yeah.
No, that was in Salt Lake. So then long story longer, I moved to Salt Lake. I had a job opportunity actually from my old boss at Channel in DC. My old boss in DC, Stan Melton, who's another great dude. Yeah. So Stan Melton referred me to an old protege of his that had a job opening. He really needed help at this station in Salt Lake. I reached out to him. I wasn't really super crazy about living in Salt Lake because it's Salt Lake. So I got in touch with him. I liked the guy. I liked the other people that kind of worked at the station. The station was kind of a bottom station, and it was struggling. So it seemed to me like it means they weren't getting any ratings at all. They were basically getting their ass handed to them every single night by the one channel that's owned by the Mormon Church, which is a tough one, and then the other channel that's like a legacy CBS. Which is, if you're in the TV business, you know that's a really tough road to hold because CBS primetime just crushes. So it's really tough to get here in local news.
That NCIS
60-minute procedurals are worth them, and awful comedies starring a bunch of wannabe nerds. That's where the bread is buttered. I shouldn't say any of that because my wife works for CBS station. So let's go ahead and stop right now. We love CBS. God, I mean, NCIS Miami, NCIS Tulsa, NCIS. I think they put one up in Rochester. That's my favorite one. Bull, all of them, they're all good. So they do really well ratings wise. And so this ABC station here, ABC at that time was pretty much Desperate Housewives, and that's about it. So it was tough. And they had all new talent, which is tough. It's just a lot of tough stuff when you're going into a TV station, to which I was like, sign me up.
So what do we have? 2000? We had 2009-ish?
Yeah, 10. And worked at that station for a little while. That was good. It was a big challenge, and we had a lot of fun. And then everyone started to leave. So like the news director left first, and then my boss left. Then they brought in a couple other guys, and it just turned into kind of something that wasn't for me anymore. So I branched out on my own and created Like Button. This was 2012. My thing was I could go to other businesses and I could do their social media for them and they would pay me for it. And in 2012, that was hilarious.
Right. No, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
It was 2009-ish or so that I started my own little social media company.
Well, then you remember what it was like to go into places and be like, hey, so you know this free thing that's on the internet? It's going to be the most important thing that is.
Right.
It's going to be the most important thing for you in like 5 years. So I had that actually, it worked out okay. I had 3 or 4 clients that were pretty good. And then I had some other ones that would bring me in to consult. We ended up moving up to Idaho.
You skipped over the whole part where you met your wife.
Oh, so we met at ABC4 in Salt Lake. She was a sales manager. It was really cute. We met at a car show. I had to be there to be the promo guy, and she had to be there because it was an account, and we kind of hung out and went from there. It was really nice.
And then when you had the opportunity to move up to Idaho, the state that everybody dreams of moving to one day.
Well, you say that.
And you both were like, all right, let's do this. We're going. Like, were you married at that point, or were you engaged, or were?
We were not. So I love Idaho. I always loved Idaho. I grew up in Washington State, and I actually went to high school in Eastern Washington. And so Idaho was a big part of my high school life. I love it because you can go there and you can pretty much do whatever you want in Idaho. It's not like Montana where not anything. It's not like Wyoming or Montana where you can do anything. But what I mean by anything is I like to fish. I like to go outdoors. I like to hike. I like to do all that stuff. And you can do all that stuff there. There's no rules. There's no one tells you where you can fish or where you can't fish or where you can hike and not hike or if you can bring your dog or blah, 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 blah. And yeah, we moved to Twin Falls, which was interesting. It's a really small town, and I am not a small town guy. I am a big town guy.
Really?
So, yeah.
It seems like you would do well in a small town.
Matt, I do well pretty much in any town. But this is a really small town. This is Twin Falls is what, like maybe 20,000 people, 25,000 people, something like that. Apologies if I'm getting it low, but it was a good move for her. And for me, it gave me a chance to kind of see what I wanted to do. So I continued doing the like button thing. Actually, it was really cool. We got up there and I turned on local TV and all the commercials were terrible. They were terrible. You'd watch the local TV and local commercials and they were awful. Like, I would just like sit there and just like laugh. So we were talking one night and I was like, what we could do? You have your clients there at your TV station. I know how to produce commercials. Why don't I'll buy some lights and, get a better camera or whatever. And why don't we just do production for these people? And then one would come on like right on cue, like a TV show. And it would be like a guy with a banjo, like, come buy tires. Tires are good.
So seeing these like horrible local commercials inspired you to start your own production company?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I did that for about 1.5 2 years while we were there. Yeah, did pretty well with it. I mean, I had steady income. I had steady clients, steady work. And it wasn't so much work that I couldn't play golf like every other day, which was also great. So played a lot of golf, made a lot of commercials. Not sure where all that money went. Probably the golf.
All right. So while you're in Idaho, you got into beer a bit more than you were already into it, because I know now this is going back, but when you were in Richmond, we made a beer together. We brewed a beer. Well, you did it, and I was just kind of there to watch.
You were there. Yeah, that was.
I was totally there.
You were there.
I helped add the grains into the mash or whatever that is.
Yep.
So you've been into beer for a long time.
Yeah.
Like before it was cool to be into beer.
Is it cool now? I guess it is kind of cool now. Yeah, I was into it way before it was cool. I started homebrewing maybe when I was 21 or 22, and in Tucson, which is really tough because you have to get the beer down to a certain temperature. And it's really difficult to do that when you're in Tucson because it's 100 million degrees outside. I started getting into craft beer probably even right around that time, maybe even a little before. Yeah, I mean, when we would have like our little house parties and stuff in Richmond, it was always funny because I would bring over, I was just actually kind of thinking about this the other day. I would bring over like whatever mixed 12 pack or whatever I could find. Everybody would be like, what is pale ale? What is IPA? Yeah, I was really into it. I'm still, yeah. I mean, it was a hobby, it was a hobby. And then after I left my job at Channel 4 in Salt Lake, I actually worked for a local here in Utah called Epic Brewing Company, which is just really awesome. If you haven't had them, they make amazing beer. They do some really cool stuff. And I went to work for them and was actually a salesperson for them. It was like my first kind of job in beer. And actually, I think the last time I saw you, I was on a sales trip out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got.
Do you remember?
Beer,
do you remember the name of the beer that we made together?
Absolutely, the Face Melter.
The Face Melter. I have photos. I'm probably going to use a photo of that night when we were all drinking it for the first time as the teaser for this episode, because I don't think I have any photos with you recently. No. I know I don't have any photos with you recently, but I don't know if I have any photos with you at all, other than maybe at my wedding.
Yeah, that was a good time. We should talk about that. Next episode, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. All right, you're in Idaho. You got your production company. You're getting into beer a little bit more. You've worked for Epic in Salt Lake.
I mean, at this point, I'm pretty well versed. The Epic job was basically like a master class. So I'd been homebrewing forever, and I knew, the brewing process. I knew what all the different grains did. I knew what the hops kind of tasted like. I knew pretty much everything a home brewer could know. So this was like a whole different deal. So we were doing barrel aging before anybody else. We were doing crazy barrel aging. We were doing sours. Nobody else was doing sours. This was, 2012, 2013, something like that.
Yeah, nobody was doing sours back then. Yeah.
No, nobody. We were doing sours. We were doing big IPAs. We were doing barrel aged stouts, Big Bad Baptist, smoked in oak, stuff like that. Like we were doing stuff nobody else was doing. And I was right there for everything. And I was soaking it up and learning everything and just having a blast at the same time. I mean, we were traveling all over the United States selling our beer. We were doing really well, crushing it pretty much everywhere we went. We were having success. So it was a really great experience for me to be involved with Epic, because they were I learned so much, and it was just like such a great thing. And so I'm all the way like indoctrinated into beer now at this point when we get to Idaho. And then I get to Idaho and I start learning more and more about like the different grains and the different hops and where they're coming from and how they're grown and stuff like that. So it really got big after that too.
Why don't we get into the point where you started writing a book? How did that all come about? Because I know you wrote a book for...
Yep. And before we get there, Caught by Happy, brought to you by those things you use to hang pictures in drywall. Aren't those things great? You can hammer one of those little tiny plastic things in and they will hold up to 100 pounds in drywall.
Anchors?
There you go. Anchors. I mean, I wouldn't hang a TV with them, but pictures in small shelves all day long.
You can put an anchor in the wall for a TV.
3, 2, 1. You can hammer one of those babies in and they will hold up to 100 pounds in drywall. Anchors. Promo code Anchors.
Look, I appreciate you trying to give me some monetary support through advertising.
Like I said, I'm a big podcast listener, and so I was just noticing.
Well, where's my Squarespace and ZipRecruiter? And
I don't think so. Not quite yet.
I don't have that kind of money.
We'll see.
I don't have that kind of pull just yet.
I get my wife in here. We could do a MeUndies ad real quick.
All right.
It will be uncomfortable. Just
tell me about the book. Tell me about the beer book.
So we're in Idaho. I'm really soaking in a lot of the agro stuff because I've never I have some family that farms, but I'm meeting a lot of farmers and I'm getting to know the agro people and really appreciating what they kind of do. And one thing that they grow a lot of in the Magic Valley where I lived is barley for beer.
Why is it called Magic Valley?
Oh, we're not supposed to talk about that outside of Magic Valley. Sorry, I wish I could. A lot of barley is grown there that is used to brew beer. So specifically Coors beer. Coors has all of their barley fields right in the Twin Falls, the greater Twin Falls Buell area. I was learning a little bit about this and it was really interesting to me. And then I started writing. I was bored too. So I was doing the commercial thing. I was still kind of bored and I like to write. So I started writing for the newspaper, the local newspaper there, the Twin Falls.
Twin Falls Democrat and Chronicle,
Magic Valley Herald. I can't. Shout out to the Twin Falls, whatever the newspaper is called. So yeah, I started writing for them and writing a lot actually. I was doing 2 or 3 stories a week. It was supposed to be all digital, so they had a paywall up. So I got free access to my own writing. That was my pay. And I know, it was great. I think it was Times. I think it's the Times. Anyway, and so then I wrote this book. The reason how I got the book was I was writing for this newspaper and I was writing for several other internet companies that would start up and then fail subsequently. Not mainly because of me, but probably a little bit. There was this one where I wrote for this internet company that people paid $1 per month and they got to see just whoever they wanted to see. And the big draw was, wait for it, Rodney Peete, quarterback of your Detroit Lions.
Wow.
Circa 1988. $89. He was the big get. And I was like, well, this is going to fail immediately, but of course I'll do it because this sounds amazing. And so I think I got a grand total of, I think 12, maybe 15 subscribers at one point. So that was pretty good. I was actually the number 2 writer on the list. I beat Rodney. Rodney was at about I think he was at like 10. This lady who cooked was like number 1, and then it was me. So it was pretty good. Now you're not going to believe this, Matt, but I never got a paycheck from them.
No, are you kidding me?
I was supposed to get that $1 per month. That was my $1. Probably.
You know they were paying Rodney Pete.
Well, you got to pay Rodney. He went to USC for crying out loud. I mean, shout out Rodney Pete. So the publisher actually reached out to me, and they said they really liked my column, and they thought there was room to write a book about Idaho beer. And their idea was for it to be like they had done some of these other books. They sent me a copy of Montana beer, which was basically just like Billings, so-and-so brewery, Missoula, so-and-so brewery. And down the list it went. It was just like a guide. And I was like, well, I don't really want to do that. I don't know how many books I'm going to be able to write. So I want to do the book that I want to write. And what I wanted to write was a narrative about how beer in Idaho, like you could basically just separate Idaho up from the rest of the United States and you could make beer really easily. It's the 3rd biggest hop producer in the country, 1st biggest barley producer in the country. They make the most 2-row, make the most 6-row, second most 6-row. I guess Montana probably makes the most. The water there is awesome. Yeast is pretty easy to find. And you can make beer. And so that was my idea to them. They were cool with it, and we made the book. I wrote it it took me about a year, I guess, to get it all put together. I drove all around the state, interviewed all the breweries, and then I went and met the barley producers. I met the hop farm producers, the hop farmers, I guess I should call them. Put together this book as a narrative, like a guide of sorts of how this one state produced this one thing and how amazing it is with Agra and everything. And then also how some really interesting breweries were coming into the market. Like we were starting to get some really good beers being produced. It's still, Idaho's got some really cool breweries and some cool stuff is popping up, but it's got a ways to go before it's like anywhere near where some other places are, but it's doing great. And there are some really cool breweries there, and a lot of good friends of mine are brewing beer there. It's really good, really interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so how did the book do?
The book did really well. Using some of my acumen as a salesperson, I went out and found a couple small chains to put the book into. Target, Costco. There was this group of Idaho stores that I put it into. We put it into all of the tourist places. We put it in the libraries.
So yeah, you were selling that thing all over the state.
Did pretty well with it, yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
Then took it on a tour. I did a tour of the whole state. I did a tour. I also went to Eastern Washington, did a couple stops there. Yeah, we did pretty well. I think pretty well with it.
So you did the book, you got it placed. What happened after that?
So then we decided to move to Boise, which was cool. We loved Twin. We loved all the people there. We got married there. So it's always going to have like a special place in our hearts. And I really do love going back there. I have a lot of really good friends there and stuff. But I think it was time to move. We were both getting a little stir crazy. We lived in a giant farmhouse in Twin.
Wow.
So it was like The Shining. I wrote my book in the dead of winter in this farmhouse in Twin Falls in the middle of nowhere. We were out, and this house was 5,000 square feet, gigantic farmhouse. And I would just sit up in my little upstairs bedroom and write until everybody would come home or whatever, and walk out in my bathrobe and tell everybody to shut up. And it was pretty.
You didn't have one of those like topiary mazes out back, did you?
I was starting to build it. You have to grow those in, Matt. You can't just. Yeah. So we moved up to Boise. The book continued to do well. Actually, just got a pretty sweet check for it the other day.
Yeah, you getting those royalty checks?
Got the royalty check, 0.03, baby. 3
Nice.
cents.
Put it in the bank.
I must have sold a cover or something. I'm not even sure how you get the 3 cents. And I still get people that text me every so often that they see it in Target and stuff like that. So thank you, Target. Shout out Target. Shout out Costco. That was great. And it was a lot of fun. The tour was a lot of fun. had a great time getting to know all the people I wrote the book with that helped me with the book. And there's still a lot of good friends. And actually, kind of a funny story. Do you know Stone Brewing Company, right?
Of course, yeah. They've got a place here in Richmond.
Yeah. So I was writing the book, or I was about to write the book, and I wanted to get really good forward. I wanted something really neat at the beginning to kind of legitimize it more than anything. So I could have gone to my friends at Epic, and I'm sure they would have been happy to do it. But I had this guy in my Rolodex, Greg Cook, who's the owner. Now he's like the owner emeritus. I don't know what he's doing with Stone these days. He's kind of more of a spokesman. He's not really day to day anymore, but he was the co-founder of Stone Brewing Company. So I sent out all these emails on one day to get people to be in the book, like all these people who own these breweries in Boise. And then my wife was home that day, and I sent this email to Greg, and I said, there's no way, Greg, this is such a reach, because there's no way he's going to respond. He's got a giant beard. He's out doing stuff. He's living the beer life. He's like a rock star in craft beer. And he's super busy running this brewery. I'll hear back from all these other guys first, these guys that own these little breweries in Boise, whatever. Nope. About 5 minutes later, I get an email back from Greg. Yes, I would love to do it. Sign me up. I'll have it to you. I got to get it to you by February, though, because I'm going to Thailand on an excursion. Okay, cool. And I didn't hear back from those other guys for like 2 weeks. How funny is that? The busiest guy in the craft beer planet gets back to me in 5 minutes. These guys took 2 weeks. So I was very happy to hear back from him. Don't get me wrong. But it was funny. So yeah, Greg Cook was nice enough to write the foreword to my book. And it's a really good foreword if you ever have a chance to check it out.
That's awesome.
Please do. Yeah. So moved to Boise, kind of got settled in there. Took a job at Albertsons. They were opening all these. I think you guys have them there.
Nope.
No. I mean, you guys, not Albertsons. Their growler stations were opening everywhere at this point. So This is 2014, I guess, 2015. So growler stations are opening up all over the place. So Albertsons wants to get into the growler game. I talked to this guy, one of them, like a local Albertsons, and he tells me that they want to get someone in to be in charge of the beer. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So they signed me up. I worked there. And as I was working there, this other brewery in town approached me. They needed someone to kind of get the brewery back on track, be the director of sales and marketing, and kind of just get it going in the right direction. And they had met me while I was doing the book. And so I took a job at Edge Brewing Company as their sales director. And that would have been February of 2015, I guess. Then I started working for them and doing the beer thing again. It was a lot of fun.
So that's in Boise. But now you're back in Utah, right?
Yeah.
How did you get back to Utah?
Well, so I did that. I was with Edge for about 3 years, and got them. They're doing really well now. They just opened their second location, so really happy. Shout out to them. Then I worked for a distributor for a year, which was good for me because I never worked at a distributor. So beer is a 3-tiered selling process. You have the people that make it, you have the people that distribute it, and then you have the retails that sell it to you. It's the only thing in the country. Alcohol is the only thing in the country that's made to be like that, because Budweiser back in the day would just monopolize everything. And it's actually getting back to that point again. So my wife got a job back here. So we moved back down here. I got a job doing content and doing creative service back in the kind of the TV game a little bit, but working for a car dealership here.
Man, it all comes full circle. So are you still in the beer world at all?
As much as I can be. I'm kind of just more on the outside looking in these days. I like to go to the new breweries and see what's going on. I like to keep up with the trends and all that stuff. But for instance, like the Great American Beer Festivals this weekend, I'm not going, which kind of sucks because I really love going to that. It's a lot of fun. And whenever
didn't you do a video from there? Like you did like some. I remember seeing something a while back, like years ago.
Yeah,
you were like the man on the street.
I had a show. It was called the DABC show with Bill, and Bill and I would go around to breweries and we would kind of do what you're doing right now. I think we were about 3 years, maybe 3 years too early. I called it a video podcast. I think maybe it's not a thing anymore. Maybe now it would just be a TV show because everything's streaming now.
Yeah, or just like a YouTube show.
Exactly. Yeah, it'd be a YouTube show. So we did, 6 episodes, 7 episodes, something like that. And it was good. It wasn't successful in any way. but we had a great time. I think they were good episodes. If I had them, I don't even know where they are, but if I could still, I stand by them. I think they came out good. We spent.
I actually remember them, so they must be that good because they're in my brain. And I don't hold on to anything, so
that's huge because you have 3 kids, so that's
yeah.
It's got to be just that and like
right. And I can't even remember their names, so
feeding schedule. I have 2, and I can barely remember their names.
Yeah, so tell me about your kids.
Cameron's 18. He's at Boise State. He's a freshman. You should see his dorm. Like, I don't know what they were like at Cortland, but at Chapman, we did not have. Yeah, was it 2-bedroom, 1 bath with a living room and a kitchen and a laundry room?
I think they did have those suites, but I wasn't from that kind of family.
Not for us.
No.
Yeah, well, Cameron, that's what Cameron's doing. He's got that going on, and he's doing great, and I'm really proud of him. And then Lily is our youngest. She's 15, and she's a freshman in high school, and she's just a really sweet kid. And they're both super smart, super fun kids to hang out with. Yeah. And it is nice now they're a little bit older. It's also, the complicated stuff is more complicated, but the easy stuff is nice. And it's good. It's nice that I got in when I did. I got in when they were about 8 and 5. They're my stepkids. So I got in when they were about 8 and 5. So they were still pretty little. And we kind of all, grew up together. And they're great kids. Couldn't ask for for a better set of kids or a better wife for that matter. My wife is also.
The relationship with the kids is all good. They hate you just like any other teenage kids would hate you.
Yep, one more than the other for sure. I get my fair share. And you know what? Well deserved. I think I'm emotionally distant and hard to gauge. So that's tough.
And you recently, I don't know if you want to bring this up, but I know you recently had a loss in your family. I saw on Facebook the other day.
Yeah, poor Nabisco. Yeah, we lost our dog. One of them. The other one still going. But our puggle, she just got sick, and you know how it is.
Yeah, I've been there.
You don't want them to suffer, so you got to kind of make a decision. That's what we did.
Yeah.
And I know. Poor Kenobi.
You remember him, huh?
I love Kenobi. Are you kidding me? I love dogs. We're very simpatico that way. I love dogs. They're the best. Yeah. It's just the way it is. When you're a pet owner, it's lucky because they kind of give you their whole life and you get to spend a small time with them. And it's a blessing. It's a really cool thing. And we had Nabisco for 7 years, I guess. And she was amazing. She was a really good dog. She was loyal and faithful and all that stuff. And, it's just kind of the way it goes. When you're a pet owner, this is going to happen. And it just happened for me. So I'm still kind of raw about it, really.
Yeah. No, I understand. The other night we watched, have you seen A Dog's Purpose?
No, I'm not watching any of those.
Oh, exactly. My kids wanted to have a movie night and this happened to be on. And so we started watching it. I swear to God, we were 10 minutes into it and I stood up and I said, that's it. I'm not watching it. I'm done.
Why is Dad sniffling? Yeah. No. There's no Dog's Purpose. There's no Dog's Life. There's no Owen Wilson, whatever that thing is now.
Marley and Me? Oh, God.
I can't even watch Finding Nemo. Like, are you kidding me? Like, no, I have to project a manly image here.
I did though. I left the room and I came back and I finished the movie and I stuck it out and then I stuck it out to the end and I looked around the room and I watched them all bawling their eyes out trying to hug Django.
And Django's just like, this is great.
No, Django's just like, I'm out of here.
I love labs. They're great. So now it's like, what's the best time to get another? Like, do we want to get another one? Like, how much time do we have to leave before it's respectful or whatever? And, it's just like, that's because
a puppy. Do you go for a rescue?
Oh my God,
do you get the adult? Yeah.
Well, I like to think they rescue me.
All right.
Wait, hold on. Caught by Happy. Brought to you by TB12. You like kale?
No.
How about water? Then you were born for TB12. It's the no fun, no nonsense lifestyle choice of one guy who epitomizes no fun and no nonsense. Imagine if you had a boss like Bill Belichick and just decided to work as long as you could, even though you have generational wealth. TB12. Find it today at Sully's house or wherever crappy Boston Patriot stuff is sold. TB12.
I appreciate you weaving in my hatred for the Patriots into this episode.
Excuse me, our hatred for the Patriots.
Oh,
Next
right,
time
yes.
you lose a Super Bowl to them, you go ahead and you let me know how that goes.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
when you lose
obviously you
twice
get
a year
twice
to them. All right, Steve, we've gone on for an hour. I think
This is an hour.
I think we can end this. Hey.
Well, Matt, I appreciate you having me on. I'm sorry that you kind of brought me up. I came on after a really good guest. Your neighbor is amazing.
Yeah, she was
good. Her
good.
story was crazy good and amazing. And, you know, I just can't, I don't have that. But this is, I think this was pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, that's fine.
I make up for it with silly jokes.
I hope to have on a whole wide swath of people who have different types of stories, and it's not all about tragedy into success or anything like that. It's just about their story, whatever it is that they've been going through, whatever they've done to chase their dreams or find their happiness or find success. That's all it is.
It's important, and I think it's really cool. And one reason why I agreed to come on was not really just talk to you and see how you were doing, but also because I think you don't really have an appreciation for what you've sort of done until you take a step back and look at it. With me, the last couple of days thinking about being on this podcast, I've been kind of had a chance to go back and look at what I've done and how I've gotten to where I am and all that fun stuff. And I'm actually really proud of what I've done and proud of a lot of the companies I've worked for or a lot of the things I've done, starting my own businesses here and there. Really just a lot of people like to talk about now how, and you and I know how this is, but they're talking about how now these millennials are so great at adapting and they're so great at having different career paths. They don't really have a career path, or they don't care, or they want to give everything away for free or whatever. But you and I think, have lived that. I mean, we've each gone out on our own. We've each done different jobs, had different things. And I mean, we're a testament to Cortland and Chapman, respectively, I think, in that we haven't really stuck to one path. We've kind of done our own thing, and we've done all right with it, I think. I think everything's worked out. I think we're doing good, right?
I think we're doing all right. I think we're doing pretty good.
But thank you so much for having me on. It was a real pleasure. And, I can't wait to do it again. We'll get some more reads up, and we'll find some more sponsors for you.
Yes, please just submit those to my advertising department next time. Get them approved.
Manscaped is waiting for you. They want your testimonial.
All right, Steve. Hey, good talking to you.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
All right, there it is. There's my chat with Mr. Steve Koonce. Man, it was so great talking to that guy. I haven't talked to him in forever. It's so nice when you can just pick it right back up like you never lost a step, never lost a beat. We were right back there in 2008, like he was still living in Richmond. I know it was a long episode. Thanks for hanging with me. If you've got a story you want to share with me, or maybe you know somebody who's got a story that would be a good fit for the Caught by Happy podcast, please email caughtbyhappy@gmail.com. Send me a DM on Instagram, Caught by Happy. Send me a Facebook message, again, Caught by Happy. You can find me on all those social platforms. And remember, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, subscribe and tell your friends. Goodbye, everybody. The Caught by Happy podcast is brought to you by Harrington Communications Consultants. If you're looking for strategic communications or content marketing or help with any of your communications, reach out to us at harringtoncc.net.